Donald Trump was re-elected promising no new wars, but now he doesn't have to face the voters ever again. He's term limited, so he can break any promise he likes. But I think deeper than that, he was, in his first term, he surrounded himself by a lot of military men and women because of his outsider status as a Republican who kind of took over the party in a populist way and really steered the party away from the neoconservative George W. Bush era. Very critical, of course, of Bush and the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which he often described as the forever wars. So it made sense in his first term that he really kept away from foreign entanglements. And also Trump himself, he seems to have had this sort of a fairly fundamental level. He's often been critical, been quoted as describing dead American servicemen as losers and suckers. Now, he denies that he ever said that, but it is credibly reported that that's what he thought and said when he saw the graves of American servicemen from the First World War in Europe. So Donald Trump has been about making money, not making war. We thought we understood that. But then, last year, they sent the stealth bombers in after Israel had declared what became the 12-day war with Iran, targeting Iran's nuclear program. The success then of when the Americans piled on with their B-2 stealth bombers and did it seems, a significant amount of damage, if not total obliteration of the Iranian nuclear program, Trump was emboldened by that. It was a short, sharp conflict. It was a victory. No lives were lost. We're out of there. Then in January this year, of course, after growing tensions with Venezuela, will they invade? What will they do? They sent in a special operation that abducted the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, arrested him, dragged him back to the United States. Now, that wasn't regime change in Venezuela, certainly not in the sense that the Bush administration pursued regime change against Saddam Hussein in Iraq or the Taliban-led Afghanistan after 9/11. But the Americans have now got a new and positive relationship with Maduro's former deputy. And it seems as though this is the new template. Not yet perhaps a Trump doctrine, as we often define the foreign policy or worldview of American presidents, but it does seem that Donald Trump is now emboldened to think we can go in and we can get out again, achieve some objectives without too much of a cost. He's a product of the Vietnam era himself. He knows how damaging Americans in body bags coming home to America can be to a president's popularity. He doesn't want to know about that. But he's now flexing America's military muscle in a way that we have seen quite effectively. And within 24 hours of launching this attack on Iran, of course, he has, if not created regime change, he has created leadership change because he blew up an 86-year-old Ayatollah. And to a lot of casual observers in the United States, a lot of Trump's supporters, they will look at that and say, mission accomplished. We did the job. We killed the bad guy. The question then, of course, becomes, yeah, and now what? How long do we stay in there? Because most presidents go into wars hoping they're short and sharp, and a lot of them drag on for decades. The question is, what happens next? And that'll affect Donald Trump's support at home and internationally.
And we've already seen fatalities from the US side. Where does the public opinion sit on this, and what are the political ramifications for Donald Trump?
Early days. The first polling has come out after the attack was launched in the early hours of Saturday morning in the United States, and it shows tepid support. Only 27% of Americans telling Reuters Ipsos that they support Donald Trump's operation against Iran. So the question now becomes, how long does this continue? Before the raid that saw the abduction of Nicolas Maduro from Caracas, only about 22% of Americans supported the idea of American intervention in Venezuela. The day after he'd been successfully taken, that more than doubled. So Americans like success. They like wins. They don't like quagmires. They don't want Iraq. They don't want Afghanistan. They don't want Vietnam. So Donald Trump's support in what is a re-election year for Republicans and Democrats in Congress, it is going to be fascinating to see, because right now, they're taking a wait-and-see approach. If this is over in a couple of days and Donald Trump does, as he did in Venezuela, and says to these Iranians, look, guys, just take off the military uniforms or the clerical robes, put on a suit, and we can talk. We can sort this whole thing out. He can kind of make that look like, if you don't look too closely, it can be regime change of a kind. But If it gets really bad in the region, and we're seeing the way that this is now spreading with proxies being targeted in Lebanon after Hezbollah attacked Israel, Israel suffering some massive damage as a result of the hypersonic weapons that Iran is firing off, it will come down to just how fragile is this Iranian regime. What comes after the Ayatollah? It's not like the Iranians didn't have a plan B. Their leader was 86. There was a succession plan. We know that dozens potentially from that succession plan are dead as well. So there are so many question marks here, and for Donald Trump, they often say about his tariff policies, so are many other areas, this acronym that he hates, TACO, Trump always chickens out. Does he chicken out in Iran? Is he emboldened by the success? What does he do next? And because this man is not guided by traditional ideology like a George W. Bush, Kath, we really don't know what happens next.
It's a wait and see. John Barron, thank you very much.
Thank you.